Greetings, listeners. Welcome to Consulting Between Friends. I am your host, Michael Holmes Jr. We all enjoy delicious meals. Food is a source of nutrition for our bodies and keep us alive. The food we eat has its own history. From different cultures they all come from. The many different meals we eat come from recipes that has been passed down for many generations. The food we eat can bring back all sorts of memories. When we eat fruits and vegetables, our bodies get full of energy. Healthy eating is essential to us, and preparing home-cooked meals make the job easier. Food brings different cultures together and different ethnic backgrounds with the taste of food. Throughout history, food was a way to bring different races of people together. The types of food we all enjoy have their own history. The roots of food from Africa have migrated to other countries, such as the United States of America. The racism we all deal with every day has one thing that brings us together, which is food. Food is a way we celebrate each other's differences and come together as one. Food celebrations dates back centuries through cultures, and that is how we celebrate special occasions in life. When it comes to cooking or preparing a meal, there are professionals who can create a work of art. This cooking professional is a culinary chef who can slice and dice food to create the meal of your dreams. A culinary chef attends school to learn different styles of cooking and techniques to create a meal. The food we eat in a restaurant is prepared by a chef who has numerous experience overall. The styles of cooking a chef can learn are fry chef, grill chef, and saute chef. A culinary chef can create a work of art of food that will have you mesmerized by the first taste. In this episode, I will be interviewing a young culinary chef who has a passion for cooking. His name is Taj Johnson, a professional culinary chef. Also, you will learn why cooking is a joy for him and what makes him stand out from others in his profession. The topic is a culinary chef guide for cooking. We will return after a message from our sponsor. Everyone is always planning things, and advertising is needed to make it happen. So, if it's personal or business, let Pinpoint Designs and Images solve that problem. With Pinpoint Designs and Images LLC, you will receive quality work and professional service at a great price. The service that is offered: flyers, business cards, programs, invitations, photo books, ad booklets, and much more. Michael Holmes Jr., owner/principal designer of Pinpoint Designs and Images LLC. Contact me by email or social media. Email address is pinpointdesignsandImages@gmail.com, and Instagram Pinpoint Designs, and Facebook Pinpoint Designs and Images. We are back. Before the interview begins, I want to give you a little background on Taj Johnson. Taj is a culinary chef who has a passion for cooking. Taj was born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana. Taj has 10 years experience as a culinary chef and is continuing to perfect his craft. Taj graduated from Nicholls State University in Thibodaux, Louisiana, with a Bachelor's of Science degree in culinary arts. Taj has the experience as a line cook and a chef. He was an owner of a family restaurant called Papa's and had the opportunity to showcase his culinary skills to others. Taj is also an entrepreneur who is building his own brand and style as a culinary chef. My guest is Taj Johnson. Now, welcome him to Consulting Between Friends podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me today. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
You're welcome. Did you enjoy your weekend?
I did. It was really relaxing. Um, it was just all around good. How was yours?
I enjoyed my weekend as well. I went to church this morning and I participated in an event they had at church.
That's awesome. Did you enjoy it?
Yes. So how was your day?
My day was good. I met up with a friend and we had coffee and we just had a really good conversation. And it was a conversation that helped grounded me back to who I was or who I am. So it was good. A good day.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Well, can you explain your background?
Yeah. I'm a chef. Um, I've worked in the culinary world for 10 years professionally. Um, I graduated from Nicholls State with a BS in culinary arts, and I'm an aspiring entrepreneur right now.
Oh, that's nice to hear. I like what you have to say about yourself. Well, I'm looking forward to interviewing you today, and we are about to start.
Okay. I'm excited.
What made you decide on the culinary profession?
Well, I guess my grandfather kind of instilled the love of cooking for me at a young age. So it's always kind of been with me, and I always knew that I wanted to cook. And
So, how you knew you always wanted to cook?
because he when he was teaching me, he showed me it's the simple joys, you know. Um,
Hmm.
and it was something that just came natural to me. It was something that whenever I just started cooking at school, when I went to started culinary school, it just felt natural. It really felt like this is what I should have always been doing.
Hmm. So, from you being in culinary school at a young age, you realize it's something you want to actually be a part of in the profession, correct?
Yes, sir. Good.
What do you enjoy the most about being a chef?
My favorite part about being a chef is cooking for people, and feeding people and just watching or knowing that someone trusts you enough to eat from you. Because I don't take eating from anyone lightly. Um, and just that, especially when they choose to celebrate a birthday, an anniversary, or just to celebrate the day, or even just to treat themselves to a meal, it really means a lot when someone chooses to eat your food and really enjoy it, you know? and
Hmm.
not more so if they enjoy it, but they appreciate it, you know?
Yes. Hmm. That does mean a lot. So since you say about cooking for others, basically, about how many people you prepare food for before?
Well, the last job I had, I was working at a university, the University of Louisiana Lafayette. And on average, we cooked from anywhere for 400 people to 1,000 people a night or a shift.
Oh.
Um, and that's when I cook for that many people at a time was when I really appreciated when people ate my food, especially students, because a lot of the college students, they're picky. And
Hmm.
when something's not good, they don't eat it. But when it's really good, they start calling their friends from the dorms like, hey, they got good food today. And then seeing like all the food you prepared ahead of time
Hmm.
gone is very rewarding. Um, but it doesn't matter how big though. Like if it's two people,
Hmm.
um, I'm just thankful that people like to eat my food. Like a lot of people eat it. That's nice, but it's just as rewarding when I'm cooking for one person and seeing the smile on their face.
So what type of stuff you prepared at the college that you did say you cooked at the college you was at?
It was really fun because we really got to cook anything. A lot of times we cooked a lot of pastelaya, we cooked gumbo, soups. But I also worked in the catering side and we got to do, I remember one time I did some coconut chicken skewers, sandwich wraps. Really, it was a large variety of different things there. So it was fun to just explore in a way.
Hmm. Yes, that's true. So do you have some friends that you had in college came up and say, "Oh, I tried your food and it was really good. I'm glad I was able to try it."
Yeah, sometimes the students would I would be able to talk with the students and they asked, what did you make today? Or I would walk the food to a specific section that was away from the kitchen.
Hmm.
And just hearing the students talk, just passing by and knowing that they're eating, what they're eating and how they're talking about it. Sometimes it'll be direct and they're like, hey, this is really good to me
Hmm.
specifically. But other times I'd be able to hear, um, that they enjoy the chicken stew or they
Hmm.
enjoy my pork roast. Um, yeah.
Oh, that's good. I know you hearing that made you feel really good that people was enjoying your food that you took time to prepare as well.
Yes, sir. It did. It, yeah. It makes me warm inside, you know, it touches, my heart a
Hmm.
lot when people really enjoy it. Cause I put a lot of myself into my food, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, I put a lot of my love. I don't actually put blood, sweat, and tears into it because that, you know, that's not sanitary, but figuratively, I do put all of myself in my food when I cook.
Hmm.
Um, so it's almost like I'm sharing a piece of myself with another person.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, it just means a lot.
That's good to know. What is your passion for cooking?
My passion for cooking. So my passion, I kind of figured this out relatively recently. Um, it's the moments that you share over food, you know, like I, a few times, a few weeks ago, I got to cook for a group of my friends and they were all having a good time. They were enjoying themselves, but I was just cooking away, you know?
Hmm.
Um, and I'm not the kind of person that'll like, hey, the food's ready, come fix your food. I fixed their bowls for them. I passed it down and I sat down and watched them eat. And
Hmm.
when you could tell when a room of people are eating and you just hear nothing,
Hmm.
they, they're so caught up in eating. it's just you sharing that moment together. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's something about eating together, especially for me when it's something that I made and watching one of my friends clear the bowl in like 5 minutes, you know, and then, and then afterwards he almost falls asleep in the chair. It's a simple passion, you know, just especially with my friends and sharing intimate moments with them.
Mm-hmm.
And just it's almost a communal activity that I enjoy sometimes. And giving that to other people, even if
Mm-hmm.
it's a group of people that I don't know, if it's a small gathering, you know, and they're sharing an intimate moment and watching them or even being on the other side of the room and then coming back in and seeing that the food's all gone, like a happy plate, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it, it's just something beautiful because I know they're gonna remember it, especially if
Mm-hmm.
it's really good. Food is something that sticks with you, um, even after the flavor's gone sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy giving that to people.
Oh, that's nice to hear. Yeah, having a good meal once in a while and that you really enjoy, it really sticks to you. And you always think about it after you finish eating.
And food is one of those things. I see it more of a art form, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's one of the only creative outlets, or it's the creative outlet that is the most connected to the brain because it
Mm-hmm.
involves all of your senses. There's not many forms of art that you can consume
Mm-hmm.
and it'll take you back somewhere, you know?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times I like to cook rice and gravy a lot, you know, and I always get this tastes like my mama's gravy, you know, and you can see like they just relax. They feel like they're at home
Mm-hmm.
and it takes them back to somewhere before, you know,
Mm-hmm.
to a simpler time sometimes, you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and that you can't really replicate that with a lot of other forms of art. So that's, yeah, that's a good reason for, not a good reason, I should say, but something that I also enjoy
Mm-hmm.
from cooking.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. What motivates you to enjoy cooking for others?
So for a while, it used to be I enjoyed just feeding people, which I still do, you know. I always think about my grandfather, you know. He believed in my ability at such a young age.
Mm-hmm.
He he took his time to teach me, you know. He was a veteran, um and he got hit with Agent Orange, you know. So he was blind, he was amputated from the knees down, he had no fingers, but he still took the time to sit with me next to the stove and I would be standing in front of it on a chair and he would just tell me what I should be looking for, what I should be smelling, and we would
Mm-hmm.
taste it together. And I think of those memories, um, and I forgot about them. And it wasn't until I remembered, like, this is why I cook,
Mm-hmm.
that it pushes me. It almost it's a driving force for me to remember that it makes me remember the simpler times,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Cause he passed away when I was 4. So those are some of the earliest memories that I have.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if I could help someone else remember those memories, um, it makes me happy. Like, it just makes me happy that I could do that for someone through cooking
Mm-hmm.
because food's done that for me. And I've even gotten like times when I've made something for someone and they're like, "Oh, wow." And they just remember sometimes. Like
Mm-hmm.
they get that, oh, yeah, they just forget like sometimes what their almost cooking tastes like even. And if I could help them remember it, it, it touches me, uh, at the bottom of my heart, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good feeling. So really, your grandfather was the one who introduced you to cooking from the beginning, correct?
He was, yes, sir. But I kind of forgot that, cause I didn't go straight to culinary school. It's funny that I did 2 years at the University of Louisiana at Lafayette before I decided to go to culinary school.
Mm-hmm.
And I changed my major about 4 times while in the 2 years that I was there. Um, and I fell asleep one night. I was thinking like, what do I want to do? I need to do something. I couldn't figure out where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. And then I went to sleep one night and I saw the scene of us cooking,
Mm-hmm.
and he told me to go to culinary school. Don't forget that you love to cook.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you should be doing pretty much. And
Mm-hmm.
the next day, that's when I told mom, I said, Mom, I'm going to culinary school. Sorry, mom, but she said, no, you're not, you know, and because a lot of times culinary as a profession is, looked down upon. Not so much anymore. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but then it was, but I was so sure that I did anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until we took a tour of Nickel State, um, my mom was like, I understand. And ever since I got there, I hit the ground rolling. Um, yeah, it was awesome.
Oh, that's good. So, Nicholls State has a culinary big program for people who wants to join in that profession.
Yes, sir. Nickel State, well, the Chef John Holtz Culinary Institute at Nickel State is, to my knowledge, one of the only places you can get a 4 year bachelor's degree in culinary.
Mm-hmm.
So when I made the transfer over, it made sense. So, cause I didn't lose a lot of my credits that I earned while I was at UL.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I was able to transfer over and still graduate. I only graduated a semester behind, semester
Mm-hmm.
late. So it's a really great program. All of the professors are really amazing. They take
Mm-hmm.
the time. It's not like a really big university. So like in a smaller university, you get that more intimate relationship, especially since the professors actually care about
Mm-hmm.
the students and what they're teaching.
Yes.
So beyond just going for the culinary program, a lot of what I got was from the connections that I made with the students and with the professors. And they really do care about their students. I'm not really good at reaching out. But every time I did reach out to my professors, even after graduation, they have been there for me, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and also they just have a really state of the art facility where you can experience a lot of things that are hard to experience in in a kitchen, as a job,
Mm-hmm.
it's a
Yes.
really, it's a lab. So you get to really you get to learn like in the classrooms and then practice everything in a professional kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that I don't take for granted. I'm very thankful for that opportunity as well.
Mm-hmm. That is a good opportunity, and plus, that's also interesting as well. Being able to experience what you might end up dealing with if you was in that profession at a job, at a restaurant, or your own business as well.
Yes, sir. Um, it really gave me a lot of the the experience I needed. Before I went to culinary school, I did work in restaurants before. Um, so I kind of had an understanding going in, but I wasn't fully prepared.
Hmm.
Um, and then once I graduated, it gave me the the foundations to help with my own business.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
so But I guess that's something I kind of forgot to mention, you know. I was a business owner and I opened a restaurant with my family. Uh, and it was a really fun experience, you know, to be
Hmm.
23 years old, running a restaurant with, your family. It,
Hmm.
it taught me a lot, you know, a lot of the things that I learned in school and being able to apply that. I learned a lot, you know, cause I'm a very, timid person by nature. So being able to be in, like, running a restaurant is a little interesting, I should say, you know.
Hmm.
It gives you, and working in kitchens in general, I don't want to say just running a restaurant, but it gives you a thicker skin
Hmm.
eventually, you know. You learn how to communicate with people, and deal with ways people communicate in the middle of a rush, you know. Because while when there's a bunch of orders on the screen, in the heat of the moment, passions get high when you're cooking, you know, because
Hmm.
everybody's focused on making sure the food goes out, making sure the food goes well. But that extra layer of this is my restaurant, you know, it adds a whole nother layer of, how can I say, complexity to navigating interactions.
Hmm.
Whether that be with people outside the restaurant who know you personally or
Hmm.
just the people who come to your place on a day-to-day basis. It, and not just the restaurant, but just owning a business in general makes you more conscious of how you communicate with others and how people communicate with you.
Hmm. It's true.
But, you know, sadly, not sadly, but we did lose the restaurant, the business to a fire.
Mm.
But that's okay. I
Mhm.
didn't, that's not something I let bog me down too much.
Yes. So what was the name of the restaurant?
Oh, it was called Papa's Fried Chicken. We serve fried chicken. We serve burgers. One of my favorite things was the Big Papa Burger. It,
Hmm.
it was really, we had hot dogs. We had pork chop sandwiches. It was a very fun place to be. It was a good place to feed the community, you know?
Hmm.
Um,
Yes.
a lot of people enjoy coming and getting something. If you can't get a pork chop sandwich with a bone in that many places, well, you can, but the area we were, you couldn't really.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Um, and it was just, there was nothing more rewarding than seeing like returning customers come and just get, even if they get the same thing or they try different things, then they're just like, wow, this is really good, you know,
Hmm.
and like, they're choosing to spend their money with us, you know,
Yes.
it's humbling to me in a way.
Hmm.
Um, and it made me really thankful for, uh, just people giving me business and my family business, you know, because they don't have to spend money anywhere, you know. Um, just yeah, just choosing to eat with us was
Yes.
a good feeling.
Hmm. So since y'all had a family restaurant and you was a part of it as well, was you also one of them in the family that got to figure out what the menu would be and then like what specialties that y'all would serve?
Um, yes, we got to like getting to work with food distributors and doing the menu design and what we can do, what we can't do, but also
Hmm.
taking into account where we were and what our
Hmm.
clientele would eat and would enjoy,
Hmm.
was very interesting.
Hmm.
Um, but it was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Getting able to put a lot of the things I learned into practice while also getting to work with family and
Mhm.
getting to get to just experiment almost, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
But at the time, I was a little too shy, I guess, to experiment a lot. Um, ooh, I don't know if I should say it, but I just have a different philosophy, you know.
Mhm.
Um, we had a big menu, and I'm much more of a refine, refine, you know.
Mhm.
Um, and I was more of a fan of having a small menu, but
Mhm.
I didn't voice my opinions
Mhm.
a lot. I didn't feel confident in saying these things because I was so young
Mhm.
and I was working with people that were older than me.
Mhm.
Um, and it wasn't even them. It was more so my own insecurities that led me to making my voice smaller, I should say.
Mhm.
Um, and that's something that I had to learn. And I'm still learning now that it's okay to be heard.
Mhm. That's correct.
Um, yeah, I don't want to say too much about, this
No,
part
you're
because
doing
it's
fine. I want to also ask you if you had an opportunity to maybe open another restaurant, would you go by and doing it?
eventually I would, but I'm learning about myself that I don't like to be put in a box really. Um,
Mhm.
and I guess having a brick and mortar store kind of forces you to be in literally four walls.
Mhm.
Um, and I would rather have something that I can take with me anywhere, you know, and not even take anywhere, take directly to the customer, you know, cause I feel like for me and how I view food, I feel like that's more of a intimate way to feed people, you know, being a more of a private and personal chef. Um, and just being able to talk with a client, asking exactly what they want, being able to cater to any dietary restrictions, get to understand their flavor profiles and how they like the food. Um, and even better, the times when the client's like, I trust you. This is kind of what I want. Have fun.
Mhm.
Just cook like yourself. Those are
Mhm.
also like just being able to be more flexible and fluid, rather than being planted and rooted.
Mhm.
Um, But eventually, when I get older, I really would like to open a more, uh, rooted establishment when I
Mhm.
do decide where I want to lay my roots down.
Mhm.
Um, but also I was thinking about all the different avenues I can take with cooking. You know, I used to always think I had to cook in a restaurant or have to cook for people. But I also love to teach, you know, because cooking is something that we all have to do, or not cooking, we all have to eat, I should say. And if you can equip someone with the tools to cook for themselves, you know, and out of necessity, not out of luxury, you know, because a lot of going to a restaurant or having a chef come to you is a luxury service. Um, but I'm realizing that not everyone has that luxury.
Mhm.
Um, and being able to also give people the tools necessary to just cook for themselves. Cause I know a lot of people who are, um, intimidated by cooking, you know, or if they do cook, they like to cook better for themselves, you know, take more pride in how they're choosing to nourish themselves, giving someone the power to dictate how they eat and the
Mhm.
confidence to do it.
Yes.
is also another beautiful way I've been seeing food lately.
Hmm. What types of food do you enjoy preparing for people?
I enjoy cooking and preparing really anything that someone wants, you know? That's why I'm really thankful that I have the background and the experience that I have in cooking because I've been in a wide array of different kitchens. I've worked in
Hmm.
country clubs. I've worked fast food. I've worked Chili's level restaurants. I've worked fine dining.
Hmm.
Um, it's kind of given me the tools to cook anything that someone would ask me to do. But I'm also learning to think more about myself, like what do I enjoy cooking for someone the most? I enjoy cooking stew, like gravy, like cooking a rice and gravy for someone, because
Hmm.
it's the thing about Louisiana cooking that I'm realizing is that it's low and slow, it's all about intention. You take your
Hmm.
time and you make something beautiful, something complex, something so flavorful out of almost nothing, you know? You could, and it's at a baseline, you can make something out of nothing. But also when you start to add more complexities into something so simple that everyone knows as like a rice and gravy, nothing sticks to your bones like rice and gravy. It's the kind of food that makes you, after you eat it, you just gotta take a nap, you know?
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of, I just enjoy giving that feeling, be feel warm and cozy, especially on a cold day. Oh
Hmm.
man, like just warming somebody's soul, literally and figuratively. It,
Hmm.
yeah, for me, it's hard to beat that. It's just fun, not fun. I enjoy it.
Hmm. Yes. Mhm. Well, since you are from Louisiana, what type of foods do you like preparing in Louisiana?
Like I said, rice and gravies. I like making etouffee. I like making gumbo. And I kind of like a lot of offal or like organ meat. That's typically like kind of not favored as much. Like I like liver and onions, kidneys, um, beef tongue, you know. I like to, I try not to shy away from the roots of Louisiana cooking,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
Because Louisiana cooking is such a melting pot from so many different countries meeting, you know, and
Hmm.
there's influence from so many places and knowing why they cook the way they do. Um, it's, it's something that touches kind of, hmm, it's kind of fulfilling cooking the same things my grandfather cooked and his grandfather cooked. And hmm, I'm sorry, I'm kind of, losing like not going losing, but
Since you're from Louisiana, what kind of foods do you enjoy preparing?
I I really like one pot dishes, something cast iron, um, something that I could cook outside, cooking rice and gravy outside or making a stew, even boiling crawfish. So another thing I love to cook is I love barbecuing.
Hmm.
Barbecuing is really something that my dad instilled in me. He Something about, especially when you have a group of friends on a summer
Hmm.
day, you're outside, you got the pit going. If there's a pool, people are swimming. If you
Hmm.
partake in be drinking, having a nice cocktail or a beer
Hmm.
and just enjoying each other's company in the Louisiana heat, you know,
Hmm. Yes.
or, or even just going in the shade because the heat does get kind of intense sometimes, but just being
Hmm.
outside, um, being outside in nature and enjoying everything. It's
Hmm.
just, it brings me a certain like peace, you know?
Yes. Hmm. Well, that is true. Louisiana does has its own culture, and it is peaceful. But when it's hot outside, you definitely would know.
Yo, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, since you did mention barbecuing and then some other foods as well, do you get to put your own special touch on it?
Ooh, yes, sir. My favorite part about barbecuing is the sauce, you know, having real fun, you know, like doing creative things. Like I remember one time I was cooking with some of my friends and I did this Paradise Park, which is a beer that a lot of my friends like. I liked it as
Hmm.
well. And I
Yes.
put that in the barbecue sauce and I mixed it with some blackberries. I called it Black Paradise, you know, and like it's kind of, you know, and, just being able to experiment with different flavors. And then I got a smoke, my mom got me a smoker, a few years back and adding different layers, like adding a smokiness to, or even more smokiness to barbecue and being able to dictate what flavor smoke you use.
Hmm.
Being able to, and it's an electric one, so it's I get the it's really easy to control the temperature.
Hmm.
So playing with things you typically wouldn't smoke, you know,
Hmm.
like I smoked mac and cheese on there before, which is really cool.
Hmm.
Smoking rice. Rice is one of my professors told me about this at school. You know, you take some rice, dry rice, and you put it in the smoker, and then you
Hmm.
save it like normal. Now, every time you cook that rice, anytime you cook anything with rice,
Hmm.
it'll have that smoky barbecue flavor almost.
Mm.
So
Interesting.
being able to just play with techniques, and that's when it really becomes an art for me and for a lot
Hmm.
of people, being able to, it's almost like being in a sandbox with a bunch of
Hmm.
different techniques and flavors and finding fun and weird ways to combine them
Hmm.
and building almost like a sandcastle, just layers of different flavors or layers of the same flavor. And like, yeah, it really gets fun just playing around with food sometimes.
That makes sense. It allows you to take your imagination to somewhere and create something magnificent.
Yeah. And then being able to share that with someone, you know,
Hmm.
this is something I created and hoping that it comes out good, having no idea. This is just a painting, you know, I just freestyled and then sharing it like, hey, look what I made, you know, can you tell me what you
Hmm.
think?
Hmm.
And I'm not the kind of person to, please don't lie to me. Tell me if it's bad, you know. I'm my
Hmm.
own worst critic. I'm my own worst critic. So I tend to be really harsh on myself, it's a good and bad trait, for me. But I really like it when I can feed someone and they give me honest feedback, you know,
Hmm.
like I really like this, but this, you know, and being able to have a conversation only because I just like getting better, you know, and being able
Hmm.
to create something to the best of my ability and learning from everything that I make, you know.
Hmm. That's good to hear. What techniques and skills can you offer someone who wants to be a culinary chef?
Um, nice skills, nice skills, nice skills. I like to repeat it because there's a lot of different techniques and things that really it's just the basics, you know, starting at the basics. Because if you have the foundation and the building blocks on how to cook, like
Hmm.
the techniques to cooking, whether it's steaming, deep frying, shallow frying, sauteing, or even knowing how to cut vegetables and knowing how
Hmm.
to use different vegetables.
Mhm.
I know for a fact I didn't eat a lot of vegetables growing up. So when I got to school and we're playing with all this fresh produce, I don't know how to break this down, how to break produce down, break food down, because buying a whole chicken is a lot cheaper than buying a pack of chicken. You can get a
Mhm.
whole chicken and break it down into 8 pieces. Now you have 8 pieces of chicken,
Mhm.
for a much cheaper price. And then if you can teach someone how to use the carcass, the bones to make a stock, so
Mhm.
it's giving the foundations of cooking really saves money in the long run if you have the time to cook that way. Um,
Mhm.
it's cooking when it started, cooking isn't about really the luxury. It's fun. Don't, it's fun to do really fine dining and making really fancy things, but giving people the foundation on how to prepare food at a basic level, and give them the knowledge and confidence to be able to break down a chicken or
Mhm.
know how to make vegetables taste good. I used to think
Mhm.
vegetables were gross until I had really properly prepared vegetables.
Mhm.
So it's teaching people how to nourish themselves even properly with
Mhm.
vegetables. And after all, they'll get comfortable enough to be able to maybe experiment and create something for their own, you
Mhm.
know?
That's good.
So I think, yeah.
So when you kept repeating knife skills, what do you mean by that?
Oh, so how to hold the knife. I'm sorry. Holding the knife properly, knowing how to just break it down. Because if you cut something evenly, knowing how to dice something and when do you need to cut something bigger? When do you need to cut something smaller? It, it's really for safety. It like cooking and cutting things properly affects the
Mhm.
way you cook and how long things take to cook. But cooking is really dangerous. Like using a sharp knife. Um, I've cut myself a lot of times, and it's because I wasn't taking the technique that seriously. So
Mhm.
a lot of people are scared to just use a knife and chop because they don't know how to chop properly, or
Mhm.
someone hasn't just showed them like, hey, this is how you do it. And after once they get a feel for it, they get more comfortable
Mhm.
because yeah, they're not scared of hurting themselves. And also teaching that a sharp knife is a lot better than a dull knife.
Mhm.
Um, because I thought working with a dull knife would be safer. But I kind of learned that if you cut yourself with a dull knife, it's not as clean as a cut.
Mhm.
Um, so teaching people how to keep their knives sharp, and maintaining the equipment they have just to ensure the safety,
Mhm.
of themselves.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really interesting as well. What opportunities have your culinary skills offered you?
Um, I've gotten so many opportunities, from cooking, whether that being able to cook for my friends, cook for events. But, I guess the biggest opportunity I've gotten was to be able to travel abroad. Um, this summer, I'm looking forward to traveling to France to be a part of something called the Alliance program.
Mhm.
Um, when I was still in school, I applied and at the start of COVID. Um, but the Alliance program, pretty much 20 countries send representatives to Lyon, in
Mhm.
France, to, to study at Institut Paul Bocuse.
Mhm.
Um, and Paul Bocuse is the founder of modern French cooking. Um, so 20 countries send representatives to learn together French cooking. And I'm thankful that I was able to be selected. And it
Mm-hmm.
was really such a big thing for me because especially at that time, I really didn't believe in myself or my ability, but I really was passionate about it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I put my all into writing a portfolio and putting everything together. And even though I didn't really believe in my abilities, my professors, they they did,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So COVID happened, and I found out that we weren't going. And it was recently, like earlier or later around in December, I found out that I was going again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm working on taking the steps to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and being able to, I've never been over the pond, you know, I've never been in Europe, but I'm going to be able to spend about two months there and really get to learn about French cooking in
Mm-hmm.
the gastronomic capital of the world, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and also explore a place that's completely foreign to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll be able to immerse myself in culture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I'm really thankful for because as a chef, I can go anywhere and work. You know, I have the opportunity to travel, and it's not even about work, but experience their culture through
Mm-hmm.
food and
Yes.
appreciate what they have and why they do things and what do they eat, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and what the locals eat specifically, you know, like taking the
Mm-hmm.
time to just find all the places the locals go and eat the way they do and spend the time the way they spend their time. And it kind of it really takes you somewhere, you know?
That's true. That is a good opportunity that you're about to get ready to do for this summer. I know you're going to really enjoy it. Have you also been thinking about what you hoped that you would achieve for learning from there as well?
Yes, I really look forward to not only learning about French cooking, but also getting to speak with the students from all the different countries that are going to be represented there, you know, and get to hopefully make friendships, you know, and get to learn not just about French cooking, but learn about the people where they come from, you know, whether that be Japan or Brazil, or get to understand why they love cooking as well,
Hmm.
and getting to broaden my perspective on the world through food.
Hmm.
Um, because I guess I've lived in Louisiana for the majority of my life. And I've always wanted to travel. So this is like something I'm really looking forward to see what is the world really like,
Hmm.
you know? And
Yes.
it's something I'm just thankful to be able to do. And
Hmm.
it kind of gave me just another reason to want to cook more and learn and experience life.
Yeah. It's going to be really interesting, and I know you're going to enjoy it as well. And then meeting other people from different countries who have the same passion as you, it's going to mean a whole lot to you throughout it all overall.
It will. And I think because I know I know my papa is proud, you know, um, because hopefully I'm going farther than he ever thought I would, you know, because
Hmm.
his dream for me was to go to culinary school and open a restaurant.
Hmm.
One of my uncles told me that was what he wanted for me.
Hmm.
And I did that, you
Hmm.
know, so I always ask myself what's next, and whether that
Hmm.
be going to France or cause I'm still kind of young, you know, so there's
Hmm.
still so much ahead of me. And I'm just looking forward to how far can I go and pushing myself and my boundaries and my limits and not giving up.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, we're going to take this interview a little differently now. Since you're from Louisiana and I'm from Louisiana, basically, Louisiana is known for their cuisine in general. So, for the Louisiana cuisine in general, what do you like about Louisiana cuisine?
I like, it's just something so simple but complex. You know, it's less is more sometimes, you know? Like
Hmm.
I love boudin. I love
Hmm.
just sausage in general. Like there's something, a lot of it is just brown, you know? A lot of Louisiana food is brown. And it seems like it's a lot of different shades of brown. But it's depending on where you go also. There's so much variety and just jambalaya, you know,
Hmm.
because in Southwest Louisiana, jambalaya is more brown, but
Hmm.
in towards New Orleans, you get more red jambalaya.
Yes.
Um, or in like for gumbo, I like to make a more of a darker roux and make a thicker gumbo, but some people like thinner gumbo with filet, or not
Hmm.
saying thinner, but using filet as a thickener more than roux.
Hmm.
Um, there's just so much room for self-expression as long
Hmm.
as, and there's no really, I guess some people say there's hard rules to Louisiana cooking, but it changes from parish to parish. You know,
Hmm.
everybody's gumbo is different. Everybody's etouffee is different. Everybody's crawfish bowl tastes different,
Hmm.
but it's all Louisiana food because it comes from the heart and the soul.
Hmm.
You know, Louisiana food is about, I don't want to say about struggle, but it's about what can you make with what you have
Hmm.
and making the best of it.
Yes.
And I kind of try to apply that to life as well outside of cooking, you know, because it's just about making the best of what you got and trying putting your best foot forward. And that's what I do with a lot of cooking. I just put my best effort, you
Hmm.
know, and I trust in my gut in when I cook. Cause like my jambalaya, my food comes out different every time, you know, when I don't use the recipe. I should say
Hmm.
not completely different, but there's just so much room to play around with since there's so many variables you can take Louisiana food in all cooking, but it's it's something just special to me. And
Hmm.
there's no food that makes you feel like home. You know, you don't go to
Yes.
California and see like a Texas restaurant. Well, I guess you do. I should say that. You see a lot of Cajun restaurants everywhere. People saying
Hmm.
this is Cajun food, and they're trying to recreate that feeling of home.
Yes. Hmm.
And that's something that a lot of Southern food makes you feel like you're at
Hmm.
home. But ain't nothing like a good crawfish etouffee.
Hmm.
Ain't nothing like a good bowl of gumbo and potato
Hmm.
salad.
Hmm.
There's a reason why everyone tries to make Cajun food and take it places.
Hmm.
There's there's a reason why people talk about our food everywhere. People come to Louisiana just to eat. The food here is special.
Hmm.
And even just being able to talk with the elders and the best food really, it won't be found in the restaurants. It's the best food is in somebody's grandma's house, you
Hmm.
know, because a lot of the good recipes are oral traditions, family traditions that people pass down from generation to generation.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of just culture and history. And it's just the little things on how they prepare things that make just the littlest of difference, you know? Like talking with my grandma and asking her how she like what food she likes to eat, or going to a friend's house and having his mom's pecan candy. And
Mhm.
I'm asking him, hey, can I have the recipe for this? And then they take it so seriously, they're just like, nah, we will have to, I can't give it to you. I'm sorry. You know, and it's special when they do even trust you to taste, you know, it's another
Mhm.
level of intimacy and coming into someone else's home and eating their food and it being so good. Oh man, I have a good friend and to this day, I used to not like turkey. I thought turkey was the driest stuff in the world. And even at school, like I didn't like, it wasn't until I went to my friend's house and his dad let me try some of the Thanksgiving turkey.
Mhm.
And I just said, oh wow, this is what turkey's supposed to taste like, you know?
Mhm.
Magic happens in the houses in Louisiana. That's where all the good cooking happens. You
Mhm.
know, I don't want to say all of it because there's a lot of beautiful restaurants that make really good food, but the most inspiring food that I've had have been from people's homes, like
Mhm.
their moms, their grandmas, their aunties, my family, my uncles, my aunts. It's food from the soul. And I think Louisiana food truly is soul food.
Mhm. It's also the seasoning that people enjoy as well, how it's all prepared and how the flavors come together.
Yes, yeah, spice. Ooh, and that's another thing. I love spicy food, you know, and Louisiana heat. And since the food is cooked so slowly, all those flavors really get to mixed together. You know, I never realized how celery seed is such a pinnacle in Cajun flavor. I didn't realize it was such a big part until a few years into cooking and
Mhm.
using, excuse me, just utilizing spices to make things so flavorful
Mhm.
on top of just the process. And you know, when you make a gumbo and you wait the next day and you eat it and it tastes like
Yes.
so much better,
Mhm.
it's just letting everything party together and sit in that. It's that's the benefits I find in doing a lot of one pot cooking that I like. A lot of Louisiana food is cooked in like one pot, you know,
Mhm.
and all those flavors just mingle together and they just kind of create this little. It's so hard to explain sometimes. It's just magic happens when everything just takes its time and cooks and you don't rush the process and you just let it happen.
Mhm.
And you'll, even when you start the process and you taste the pot at first and you're like, ooh, this tastes kind of, it's good, you know? And you come
Mhm.
back a few hours later and you taste it again and you're like, may God they don't. That's good, you know?
Uh-huh.
Man, it's, yeah. Oh, sorry. It's just, I just reminisce over the food. It just means so much to me, you
Mhm.
know, because it's been part of my life ever since I can remember, since the
Mhm.
start. Like my first memories were cooking.
Mhm.
I remember, I remember going into the boardwalk in New Orleans when I was a child. This is one of my first memories, you know. I just remember walking into the food court. It doesn't even look like it did then. Now, it
Yes.
doesn't look now like it did. And I just looked around and I just saw so many restaurants, so much food. And I think that's one of the moments that I realized how much I love food, just being so awestruck by like this place with a bunch of people coming together, eating like just eating food. And I remember screaming. This is so embarrassing, but I said, I think I died and I went to food heaven, you know?
Mhm.
Um, And it's more than just seeing it all. The smells, you know, like
Hmm.
smelling all of that good food. My dad boiled crawfish the other weekend, and just walking in the backyard and you just smell so much crawfish.
Hmm.
Like not just so much crawfish, but the seasoning
Yes. Hmm.
and doing a cookout. Cookouts, it's something that it's a I'm really learning to appreciate now, you
Hmm.
know, because on a personal level, like just being able to experience all my family coming together,
Hmm.
you know, and I'm getting closer to that part of my family, you know, and I really had a personal moment,
Hmm.
you know. I kind of feel bad almost that everyone knew me there, but I wasn't, I should have felt like a stranger,
Hmm.
you know, but, and I vocalized that to one of my uncles. I was like, man, I'm sorry that I don't come around. I'm sorry this is kind of personal, but this is really like the beauty of what food can do,
Hmm.
you know? And I was there sitting so sad. And you know what he told me? He
Boy.
just said, it doesn't, it doesn't matter. We're all here as a family, and we're just here
Hmm.
enjoying each other's presence and I'm getting, even though I haven't been around as much, we get to come together and
Hmm.
over, celebrate more life over food and
Hmm.
two, continuing, you know, a lot
Yes.
of, a lot of people, we've kind of walked away from eating together.
Hmm. That's true.
Um, and I never realized just how important it is to eat together as with people, because
Hmm.
a lot of meaningful conversations happen over food and just
Hmm.
eating,
Yes.
because everybody got to eat and
Hmm.
everybody's going to be there. Um, and I think that's something that, uh, I'm starting to appreciate more about food as well as it the bringing together of people.
Yes. Food brings together people plus different cultures as well.
Mm, that is very true. Um, being able to share different cultures together, like
Hmm.
people who haven't had more African food. I had
Hmm.
a friend who, put African food on my radar. Um, and just you get to learn a lot about a culture through their food. And it's something really fun, like cooking something that people have never even heard of.
Hmm.
Like
Yes.
I like to eat a lot of Asian food, Vietnamese food.
Hmm.
I want to start cooking it more, but you get to teach a different culture through their food,
Hmm.
you know? Like Japanese food is really popular, but why I always wonder, like, there's a lot of seafood there. Um, that's because it's an island. It's waterlocked, so they use what they have to make, like, what is around them and their environment dictates how they
Hmm.
cook and what food they eat. And it's so deep. Like food goes so deep because they take so much. I love Japanese cooking so much because they respect their food a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
They take a lot of time. They take a lot of they put a lot of intention into things
Hmm.
and
Yes.
learning about the culture and the people through not just what their food tastes like, but the processes of how they cook their food and learning why they use the ingredients they do. And then one thing that's funny for me is I love Indian food too. Like curry,
Hmm. Hmm.
it it's really similar. Like a lot of different dishes are just really similar, just different ingredients based on where they come from. And like in
Hmm.
my head, curry tastes a lot like etouffee, you know? It's
Hmm.
just in Louisiana cooking, we use onions and bell peppers as most of our seasoning, but curries use a lot of, well, it depends. Like I don't want to generalize, but it's really similar to me, and it tastes similar, and the process to making it is kind of similar, you know.
Mhm.
So it's finding bridges between cultures as well that I really enjoy with the exploring food.
Mhm.
Um, and then, no, there's just food is just such so beautiful. I just it just makes me. I could talk about it forever. I could go. Sorry about that.
You're fine. Um, Coming down to the last question, I want to ask you: are there certain chefs that you actually follow or like to learn from?
Well, okay. So my favorite chef, um, that he's actually like I grew up watching a lot of Andrew Zimmern, um, Anthony Bourdain,
Hmm.
um, Gordon Ramsay, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I was always scared to cook because a lot of like chefs, they come off as you have to be very professional, white coat chefs, you know,
Hmm.
and that's not really me. You know, I've lived, not, I guess I've experienced the professional, and not saying that I'm not professional, but the clean cut white coats. It wasn't until I found this rapper named Action Bronson, you know.
Hmm.
He's a chef turned rapper. And he kind of, for me at least, broke the mold of what I thought a chef could be,
Hmm.
you know, cause he's a bigger, well, he's not big anymore, but he's super tatted. His, I don't want to say he's not professional, but he's himself, genuinely,
Hmm. Yes.
you know, and he cooks food without, he just makes food taste good. You know, it's about
Hmm.
good food, you know, without like, and I kind of been following him for a while. Uh, and I saw there's another chef, Matty Matheson. He's another, uh, chef that kind of broke the mold for me. I watched a lot of his videos and he's unorthodox. You know, I don't want to say he's himself as well, you know,
Hmm.
and just seeing people, it's okay to be passionate about something, still
Hmm.
be yourself and don't go into you don't have to fit the mold to follow what you love and do what you
Hmm.
love.
That's true.
It's okay to just be yourself authentically, no matter if you're loud, if you're, you know, just come as you are and just show the world what your food tastes like. Just be
Hmm.
yourself and just cook.
Yes.
And yeah, they taught me that it's okay to just be myself. Even though I'm nothing really like them, you know, I don't want to say I'm not like them, but I'm my own person and they're their own
Yes.
people, you know,
Correct.
and it just gave me a little more confidence to just be myself in this world as a chef.
Hmm. So, do you have anybody else that you follow as well, like in Louisiana, purpose wise?
I guess one of the chefs I look up to a lot in Louisiana, um, his name is Chef Frank Brightson. I actually worked with him while I was in New Orleans, and he told me a lot about what Louisiana cooking is, what New Orleans cooking is. You know, he's one of the pillars of New Orleans and Creole cooking, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and I would highly recommend his restaurant to those who haven't been there. It's called Brightson's. It's in
Hmm.
is it in Uptown? And it's
Hmm.
genuinely some of the best food I've ever eaten. Even after working there, you know, I still love his food, you know.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of just cool chefs in Lafayette where I'm from, just watching cool restaurants. Like I love going try the different places here. Like one of my favorite places is, oh man, it's the small shops. I'm going to be honest. One of my favorite places to go in Lafayette is this place called La Papa Loca. And I've
Mhm.
driven past it like my whole life. You know, it started
Mhm.
as a food truck and it's just like, it's a green shack almost. Like not, I don't even want to say that in not a shack, a building. I mean, um, but it's some of the best Hispanic food I've ever eaten, you know?
Mhm.
Another place that I had very recently that impressed me, like food doesn't, it's really hard for food to like genuinely impress me sometimes, you know? And it's this place called Patacon, you know, they serve Latin food and it's just a friendly environment, you know,
Mhm.
and I had a, I had a Patacon for the first time. I didn't realize what it was. It's just a sandwich in between two plantains. It's like they smash the plantains down into like a patty and
Uh-huh.
it's just it's a crispy, flavorful sandwich. It's, um, also, I'm sorry that I didn't name, I can think of any more local chefs.
No, that's totally fine. You're doing really good. Another question I want to ask you, what I was thinking mostly is, what are some things that you are working on for yourself in your profession right now?
So I'm currently, I kind of got the confidence in myself to start a company start something for myself again, you know, after losing the business, I kind of was in a rut. You know, I felt like I couldn't do anything. And I want to thank, my friend Drake, you know, he had me a part of, um, a photo shoot for Black History Month, you know,
Hmm.
um, and he, I looked around at all the people that were there, you know, people I knew, people I looked up to, people I didn't know that I was like, wow, these people are amazing, you know, um, and also my friend Kelsey too. They organized this photo shoot together and Drake was speaking with us. He's a photographer and videographer and just a creative in general.
Hmm.
Um he looked at us and or he looked at me and he made me remember and it's about who I am right now. You know? It's called Us Right Now. You know?
Hmm.
It was gonna be called Black Right Now, but it's not about that. It's just about who we are
Hmm.
in this moment. It's not about who we were, and it's you can't really progress if you are focused looking backwards. You know, if you look behind you, how can you move forward?
Hmm.
And if you look too far ahead, how can you focus on what like moving? You know.
Yes.
So he kind of it that whole experience gave me the the faith in myself to even start. So it's called like the Mahal because I always introduce myself as, "Hi, I'm Taj, like the Mahal."
Hmm.
Um, and like me, I don't want to put it in a box. You know, it's kind of an extension of myself. You know, I want to start it with private dining, but I want to take it as far as I can. Just like I want to go as far as I can as a chef. I also want to be able to facilitate and give people the opportunity to have special moments through food. You know,
Hmm.
I want to be able to cook for someone in their home, you know, and say if you want to take someone on a date, you know, you take them out on the town,
Hmm.
and then you say, "Hey, we're going to dinner," you know, uh, and you pull back up to your house or Airbnb, you know, you're like, "Wait, where we at?" You come
Hmm.
in and you see the dining table is set. You have nice lighting. And you just smell the food
Hmm.
and it's just me there, you know, and I'm there to serve you a meal, a 3-course meal. Um, and I got the inspiration because one of my good friends, Quentin, he asked me to do it for him and his wife, for their anniversary. And even when I didn't think I could, they insisted that I did, you know,
Hmm.
and I was able to, they, they, I was in their home cooking, and they thought I was going to leave after they came and the food was all done, but I
Hmm.
stayed and served them their food, poured them their beverages, cleared the table, cleaned the kitchen afterwards, and I went about my day, But it
Hmm.
was nice because I got to see two people who really loved each other so much,
Hmm.
and they chose me to cook their anniversary dinner,
Hmm.
you know? And I thought they were gonna, a lot of times they didn't, I would go in and I was trying to be quiet and not really talk and just be really professional, but I was able to be a part of it, being able to talk with them and explain to them what they're eating and getting their feedback like right there and
Hmm.
just seeing how happy they were and seeing even when I wasn't in the room and I was able to just see the moment they were having together. Um,
Well, that was very special.
it was.
Hmm.
So it's something I really would like to give to other people as well.
Hmm.
Cause it was something beautiful.
Yes.
And it's about more than the food, you know?
Hmm.
It's about, it's about the connection.
Foods has a good connection with people overall, and everyone enjoys that way they feel when they are eating any type of food.
Yeah. You know, because I love the ability to sit down and talk with them and be like, hey, what would you like to eat? I don't want to give them a set menu of this is what you have to choose from.
Hmm.
I would more like, what would you like to eat? You know,
Hmm.
and I'm thankful that I have the experience to be able to actually prepare whatever someone would like, and if I
Hmm.
don't know how to do it, I can learn how to do it, and
Yes.
that's how much I love it. It's not about, for a while I was scared to do because I'm still young. There's so much I
Hmm.
have to learn, but I
Hmm.
do have the drive and I see food a little differently and I understand cooking differently than some people. At least I think so. Um, and just being able to research and learn because I love learning about food as well and being able to fulfill someone's wishes, you
Hmm.
know, no matter what the food is. Somebody comes and, hey, I want some cheese curds from Wisconsin, or can you make me a Brazilian stew? Can you do me some jerk chicken? Can you make me a rice pilaf? Can you make me freshly pulled noodles? Can you make risotto? Whatever. I would love to give someone the meal of their dreams, you know? And I'm blessed to have that capability, you know?
That's a good way of looking at it. I like that. The meal of their dreams.
Yeah. Something that they'll remember. And eventually I want to get it to the point where I could set cameras up in the dining room, and record that moment, you know? That way I could give them almost kind of a brick that they could remember that
Hmm.
dinner because do you know the story of the Taj Mahal?
No, I do not know, but you can explain it.
So a prince, his third wife, was giving birth to their child. And it
Hmm.
was the love of his life. She went everywhere with him. But she was dying and all she asked him to do was if he could bury her somewhere beautiful, So he built the Taj Mahal to bury her and himself as well. And I was talking to one of my neighbors and I was explaining to him what I wanted to do with this, you know? And he was like, Taj, you have to build this brick by brick, you know?
Hmm.
And that's when I thought about it, you know? And I already kind of built my Taj Mahal more so in my heart,
Hmm.
because
That's true.
not saying that I've been through a lot, but I've been through a lot of things that made me not want to be here, you know? But
Hmm.
the only thing that really kept me going was the kindness of people and those moments that I did share with people when they didn't even know that I was having a rough day. You know, just
Hmm.
genuine kindness and genuine moments. So if I could capture a genuine moment for someone, you know,
Hmm.
over food and the moments they share, like the conversation they have, just that space and be able to give them a physical brick of that memory so they don't ever forget.
Hmm.
I, I just would love to do that, you know?
Yes, that's really good. I like that. Well, Taj, we have came down to the end of this interview. Before we go, do you mind explaining to my listeners if they would like to contact you? What is your contact information?
Yes. If you want to you can reach me on Instagram at like the Mahal. Um, you can also find me, you can also reach me by email address at likethemahal@gmail.com. Um, and be on the lookout for Facebook as well. A nice man, Mr. Tiger, he told me that I should also be on Facebook too. So I'm like the Mahal on Facebook or Taj Johnson on Facebook is another way you can get in contact with me.
Okay. Well, the information you just provided, I know my listeners who are interested should end up looking you up. Well, once again, Taj Johnson, I enjoy interviewing you today on Consulting Between Friends podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed this conversation, you know, and it's something that I'll remember always, you know. 'Cause it's my
Yes.
first time doing an interview and I was kind of nervous, but he really made me feel comfortable to just speak. So I'm
Mhm.
appreciative of that.
Thank you. I'm glad I was able to make you feel comfortable to do this interview, and I'm glad I was able to interview you today as well. I have learned some things about you. I have learned why cooking is very passionate for you overall.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm glad I was able to share what food means to me. And thank you for just listening and not just listening, but conversing with me.
You're welcome.
And
After a short break, we will return. We are back. In closing, I hope the information discussed today was informative. The art of cooking has changed the way we enjoy food. Learning from a culinary chef today was a great opportunity. The young chef, Taj Johnson, explains why cooking is important to him and the many different styles of cooking. He discusses how cooking is an art form and is loved by everyone. One last thing. Remember to support local businesses. And food brings nourishment to the soul. Food brings cultures together. Thank you for listening to Consulting Between Friends. This podcast is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Apple Podcasts, as well other platforms that are available. So like and subscribe. Need to contact us and leave us a comment? You can find us on Instagram at consulting the letter B friends. Once again, consulting B friends. An email address is consulting the letter B friends at gmail.com. Once again, consulting B friends at gmail.com. Consulting Between Friends now has a merch online store called Podcast Merch Headquarters. This is where you can buy merch to show your support for the podcast. Some items to choose from are t-shirts, tumblers, and hoodies, as well many other things I know you will appreciate. So take the time to review the items in the store. The link will be available in the podcast notes under Podcast Merch Headquarters. Consulting Between Friends appreciates the constant support. It means a lot. If you would like to support the podcast more, you can find me on Patreon at Consulting B Friends. Once again, at Consulting B Friends. The link will be in the description. Consulting Between Friends now has a way for listeners to share their feedback about the podcast. The listeners can now share their feedback on Discord. The link will be available in the podcast notes and on the podcast website. Thanks again for the support. If you have an extra minute, it would be greatly appreciated if you could answer a few questions regarding the quality of the podcast. The link will be in the description. Consulting Between Friends. Thanks to everyone for making this possible. The host, Michael Holmes Jr., the producer and content creator, Michael Holmes Jr., the artwork cover, Michael Holmes Jr., original music, a DJ named Slash, special guest, Taj Johnson, a professional culinary chef, content distributor, my producer, Podcasts.